Here we can see a female who's trying to entice the male to come spawn. They wiggle near the opening of the shell. It's kind of neat. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're up in my kitchen because when I went to my P.O. box last week, I had a couple of really cool things waiting for me. Sometimes you guys send me the neatest stuff, and this time is no exception. I received some pitcher plants, some sarracenia morphs from Adam, and I'm not sure where he's from because I didn't keep the box, but thank you, Adam. There's some really unusual species here, and they're ones that he grew from seedlings and have kept indoors, so we're going to pot them up today. Keep them indoors until it's, stable temperatures outside, and then I'll plant them into the bog garden with my other ones. And I always get excited about these sort of things. I love plants, and it's super exciting to get in some species or some variants that I haven't worked with. So I've gathered together some soaked peat and some sand, which is the typical mixture that I use in order to pot these up. Until it's time to move them out. Right now they're bare root and wrapped in damp paper towels just to keep them healthy. Thank you for that, Adam. I also got a box from Mark in Mexico, who went out and after seeing my Shelly video with my Maltese where all my shells were turning green, he generously grabbed a whole bunch of shells from the local beach and sent them to me. So we're going to take a look at those. I'll probably give them a quick boil to sterilize, and then we'll go down to the multi-tank and add them in there. And I also wanted to show you guys that all 3 of my orchids are blooming, which just makes my inner geek sing. So we're going to start with potting up these carnivorous plants and moving them to the windowsill. We'll take a quick look at the orchids and the other plants in the windowsill, and then we'll go down to the fish room and add some shells. Let's get started. So we have some peat soaking. I have some sand. And then I have 4 very small pots, and the only reason I'm using ones this small is because I don't intend for these to be potted very long. If I was going to be keeping them in the pots for another year, I would use a larger pot, but they'll do just fine in these smaller ones. You can see these are relatively immature plants. They should fit in here just fine, and I'm going to be planting them in the bog. So this is some peat that I've had soaking. What I generally do is do equal parts peat and sand. So I just have a 1 cup measuring cup here. I'm going to put a cup of peat and then a cup of sand and mix it together. Now this is a messy process, but I kind of enjoy that about it. And there's all sorts of different mixtures that people use for their carnivorous plants. And again, because this is just a short-term solution, I just want something that's going to be inert, allow the roots to grow, and keep them nice and moisturized until we can move them outside. So it's just a super easy, quick mix. And these are absolutely gorgeous. They're so stinking cute. Now these came in right before I left town, so I didn't have time to deal with this quickly, but they've been in the bag for about a week and have done just fine. Pitcher plants in general need a hibernation or an estivation or a dormancy, a cold period, generally for at least 40 days at 40 degrees. And that becomes more important when the plant becomes mature. Since these are seedlings or young plants, they do just fine inside for a couple of years, but none of the pitcher plants of this type, the sarracenia, really can do well long-term indoors. They need that cool down period, and that can be achieved by putting them in a cold garage. That can be achieved by putting them under a deck or a patio, and sometimes it can even be achieved in a basement, but 40 degrees is pretty cold for a basement, so generally not. Because I don't have because I have a bog garden, I don't worry about it. I just if you saw earlier in the season, I covered them up with some burlap, some pine straw, and then a little bit of winter cloth. When I plant these, I'm putting the roots under the surface and then the crown of the plant at the surface because I don't want it to rot. And then it's important with carnivorous plants to water them using distilled water, RO water, or rainwater, as they don't like TDS over about 100, at least these sarracenia. So I'll keep these in my windowsill with my pings, which are Mexican butterworts, and my sundews. The sundews were, again, ones that were a bit young, so they won't move outside until the spring as well. And then I should be able to keep them out there permanently, all except for one, which is a more temperate species. And one of the easiest ways to know what the requirements of these plants are is to Google where they're from, their native range, and look at the temperature fluctuations there. And that can really give you a good idea about if they have a winterization requirement, if they require a dormancy, and what sort of temperature range that they can withstand. Generally speaking, I learned from my carnivorous plant club that I'm a member of, it's not necessarily how cold it actually gets that they can't tolerate. Most of them can tolerate pretty extreme cold. It's how quickly they get cold. So by me wrapping my plants outside in those various means, the winter cloth, the burlap, and the pine litter, it sort of slows down the process of them getting super cold super fast and allows them to adapt pretty well. Now again, there's all sorts of strategies, and if you live in an area where it doesn't get cold enough to actually overwinter outside, some people will strip things like Venus flytraps, or probably even these guys, down to bare root like they are here, and toss them in a refrigerator in a sandwich bag in order for them to get that cool down period that they need. And again, for a lot of times they'll survive for a few years without that, but unless you really give them that cool down period as a mature plant, they will die. So it's important. So that's those four all potted up. I think I went a little overboard on the amount of peat and sand I brought in, but I do keep a trash can of that soaking outside. It was just frozen today, so I'll just go add this stuff to it, and I'll have it ready for the bog garden in the spring. Let's move these to the windowsill and take a look at those plants. So this is the only windowsill in my entire house that gets the light that plants need, which is a shame because our house is all windows, but you can see I have a bonsai ficus, I have my sundews and pings, which are doing really, really well. They've nearly doubled in size this winter. And then I have my various orchids, all of which are currently in bloom. This one's probably my favorite, but it is also, no, it's not my newest, but you can see it's got tons of flowers, and then there's another flower spike starting. This is my little mini orchid that I absolutely love, and then the first one I ever got, and all of these are phalaenopsis, and then I have my violet, and then these are the new carnivorous plants we just potted up, and I just stuck them in the bottom of petri dishes right now that I can fill with the rainwater that I collect. You can actually see there's that black bin there with the hose to the gutters. I collect rainwater there, and then I also have I think it's a 400-gallon bin around the back of the greenhouse hooked to the gutter on the other side that also collects rainwater. And then my bog garden there underneath the overwintering stuff. Snow is actually not at all an issue. It's a really good insulator. And it's actually harder on the plants when there's no snow, when it's just profoundly cold, than when there's snow. Anyway, I'm officially out of room for more plants. And then we have my air plants here. And then a moss thing back there. I think I need a bigger window. One of my dreams is to install a gigantic windowsill garden, or a windowsill, a garden window, blah, in this window, but it's extremely expensive, so I haven't yet. But you can see these little new ones look just fine. We're going to give them a drink of water. Carnivorous plants in general like to be fed from their feet, meaning I'll fill that tray with water and let it absorb up through the soil rather than top watering them. Let's take a look at the shells. That's Mabel. Mabel Grace, what are you doing? What are you doing? So this is my box of shells from Mark, Mazatlan, Mexico. It's really, really nice that he took the time to do this for me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And they're all wrapped beautifully. Oh my gosh. Look how beautiful these are. Wow. And they're spotless. It means he probably already cleaned them for me. I was not expecting, oh my gosh. These are incredible. So one of the theories that a lot of people had in my comments section was that because the shells I was using were for land snails, that's why they were eroding so badly. But the reality is they're 3 years old, so it's not really that shocking. I didn't realize that tank had been running that long until I did the look back for you guys. And of course, I'll link to that. And if you're interested on the care of the Maltese, you can watch my species spotlight that I've done on them. I've covered them a lot over the past couple years. Oh my gosh, these are so perfect, Mark. I cannot get over how beautiful they are. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap the rest of these and we'll take them downstairs. This is so awesome because there's a nice range of sizes. A lot of times Shellies like the smaller shells, so ones like this, they'll definitely colonize right away. But having this range of sizes is going to make the escape within the aquarium so much more dynamic. And they actually do spawn in one that I have in there that's about this size. So I am super geeked. I also am a little bit inspired to turn a few of these into either little succulent planters or air plant planters. Let me know what you guys think about that and if that's something you'd like to see down in the comments. And Mark, I am just blown away by your generosity. I cannot imagine being able to go somewhere local to me and find such perfect, beautiful shells. I mean, on the beaches that I go to in the United States, you're lucky if you find cool fragments. So this is just absolutely generous and incredible. Thank you so much. Let's go down and add some to the Shelly tank. You can see I have one shell that's of about comparable size to several of the ones that Mark gave me. And it is one that I've seen the Shelly spawn in a lot. So I'm just gonna add some of these in here, and over time I'll remove the old shells. But I'm not up for the task today of completely going through each of those little shells, because as you can see, just like when I just startled them, as soon as as soon as you reach into the aquarium, they just disappear. So when you're adding shells, you want to make sure all the captured air is out of them. I just do that by shaking them around a bit. I'm going to grab mostly the small ones for now. And then again, as we remove some of the older shells, I will add in some more. The rich brown striping on these shells really looks nice with the lava rock too. Now, some of these I'm fairly certain are empty, so I'm going to toss them in a bucket just in case there's fish inside. It's really hard to know which ones have shellies in them though. So the ones that are kind of full of substrate, I can take out. See how much they've excavated in there. That is an incredible amount of sand in those little shells. You can usually tell by the weight of the shell also if there's a fish inside, but I'm just going to take out those few. Ones that are upside down are probably empty. So we have some obviously new shells and some obviously old shells, and we'll see how the fish respond. Right now this tank looks totally empty, but as you guys know from that video a few days, that video a few days ago, there are shellies everywhere. It's a fun game of find the fish right now. There's a few that are braver. Almost immediately, the fish expressed interest in these new shells. Now, make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell on so you don't miss any of the updates. Over the next few weeks, I'll continue to take out the old shells and add in these new ones, and try not to stress the fish to prevent their spawning behavior by doing too much too soon. As always, thank you for your continued support. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this little update of the shellies as well as the information on the carnivorous plants.